Tonight, what this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse. When you throw 15 million people off health care, some 50,000 of our fellow Americans will die unnecessarily every single year. Anyone think that's funny? Something to laugh at? Something to just go past? I don't. 50,000 Americans die unnecessarily. If this vote succeeds, over 20 million Americans are going to see at least a doubling in their premiums in the Affordable Care Act. In my state of Vermont and throughout this country, for certain groups of people, it will be a tripling and a quadrupling of their premiums. You get 100 votes here in the Senate. Won't mean anything because the House is not going to take it up, and the President of the United States certainly will not sign it.
While Bernie Sanders was on the Senate floor working on behalf of the interests of the American people, the centrist wing of the Democratic Party sold all of us out for a pinky promise that made all of the suffering during the government shutdown completely worthless in the end.
I got the first good night's sleep last night that I've gotten since October 1 because I wasn't worried about being able to look Capitol Police in the eye when I walked in, or what a furloughed federal worker would say to me at church, or what somebody would say to me about their SNAP benefits. When you're in shutdown, it's always bad because you're one of 535 plus one who have some responsibility for it.
One of those cowards, Virginia Senator and Hillary Clinton's VP nominee, Senator Tim Kaine, spat in the faces of the tens of millions of Americans who won't get a good night's sleep because they will have to choose between paying for health care or rent or putting food on the table or any other expense someone might have.
I had my hands full focused on the Virginia elections until Wednesday morning. And as soon as that was over, I have now engaged. And I had confidence in these guys that they were going to get the best possible deal they could get from Republicans on the ACA. We were in a situation where SNAP recipients were suffering, and there was no guarantee we would ever get to an ACA solution. Now we've got robust SNAP funding and a guaranteed vote, not a guaranteed outcome, but a guaranteed vote on ACA tax credits.
Senator Kaine's opening comment about the Virginia elections is pure, unadulterated, delusional spin. He's trying to frame a wide Democratic victory as a reason to compromise with the very Republicans the voters just rejected. It is a perversion of the mandate. And let's be absolutely clear, today's Republicans who pledge their loyalty to MAGA and their dear leader long ago, they're not negotiating in good faith with the Democrats. Republicans see good faith as a weakness to be exploited. They are professional hostage takers, and we've seen it before. The minute they get what they want, which is the end of this looming shutdown crisis and the public pressure, they walk away from their end of the deal. Kaine isn't a negotiator. He's a willing dupe.
And so I joined this group to make sure that we could get important protections for federal employees. And what we have in this bill is the restoration of all the furloughed employees and a guarantee of their back pay, the restoration of all RIFT employees who got RIFT after October 1 with all of their back pay, and a guarantee of no RIFs. No RIFs going forward, added together with these other ingredients of robust appropriations bills and a guaranteed path forward to vote on fixing the ACA. That made me sign on and say, yes, we can do it. I had a number of Republicans on the floor tonight that said, we were amazed that you got that no RIF guarantee in there. And I'm glad that we did, and we all worked so hard on it together, and I have huge respect for my colleagues who made this happen. Thanks.
As for the Republicans' promise to hold up their end of the bargain, the answer is, of course, obvious. They will not hold up their end of the bargain whatsoever, and that vote will die in the House. This is not a guess, it's an absolute certainty. Their entire political project is based on repealing the Affordable Care Act. Why on earth would they suddenly vote to strengthen it with subsidies simply because Tim Kaine shakes their hand? Kaine has handed them a massive win, the end of a shutdown crisis that was eroding their support for a piece of paper that, well, it's not even worth the ink it's printed with. It's the height of naivete. It's cynical cowardice.
Now we have full funding for a year for the 45 million Americans, 1 in 8, our most vulnerable people, for SNAP, repairing some of the damage that the Republicans did last summer. We've got a path to a health care debate and vote within a month on the Democratic proposal to fix health care, where we will have a fight with Republicans and see who stands up for Americans. I trust my Senate Republican colleagues that we will have a vote. It's not on a guaranteed outcome, but we were not getting a vote. We were not even getting a chance to have a debate about health care as long as government was shut down. I feel very confident that this is a good deal for Virginians and a good deal for Americans. And you're right, we're going to have this vote, and Democrats will show who we are when it comes to protecting health care, and Republicans will show who they are.
But you could have done that 40 days ago.
Not agree, but hold on a second. But I wouldn't have gotten full funding for SNAP, and I wouldn't have gotten protection for federal workers because I needed the president to do that, and he only engaged a couple of days ago.
I do not buy the reasoning Kaine is trying to sell, especially in the wake of last week's election results and voters' rejection of Trump and the Republicans. Kaine is arguing that this sham deal was the only way to get health care access, which is a lie. Democrats had all the leverage. The Republicans were crumbling under the pressure of their own self-imposed shutdown. Voters just delivered a sweeping rebuke to Republican extremism. The mandate is to fight harder, not fold softer. Kaine is trying to justify a failure of nerve by pretending it was a strategic victory. Now, it was a sellout, plain and simple.
Do you think the R's are going to give on the ACA a week from now after more SNAP recipients get hurt and more people can't travel to visit? Do you think in 2 weeks, do you think they'll give? Do you think they'll give in a month? There was no credible argument that, yeah, we think they're going to give. And we were having this fight as the volume was getting turned up about SNAP and about air traffic chaos and about tariffs and about everything else. Now we get to have the fight in the full view of the American public, just this issue, Dems v. Rs. We're going to put a proposal on the table that we'll write, that will be maximally designed to help Americans, and that will be attractive to the Rs who are telling us we know we got to fix this. They'll vote yes, they'll vote no. We're the minority party, but everybody will get to see who is standing for them when it comes to lowering their health care costs.
Kaine's entire argument here hinges on the Republicans actually letting the Democrats bring a health care bill to vote on, and that is an asinine strategy after so many weeks of holding out. The Republican leadership controls the floor. They control the calendar. They control whether that bill ever sees the light of day. The idea that he went against the progressive wing, gave up the shutdown leverage, expected faith from the people whose entire platform is built on bad faith is, well, it's ludicrous. I also think he's playing in our faces. And I'd have more respect for him if he just stuck with one line. Look, I'm the senator from Virginia. I represent a state where a large concentration of federal workers live, so I caved. That would be honest. Instead, he's trying to dress up a failure as a grand strategy.
So do you have a thought on how you want to see this play out once these subsidies do expire this year?
You always ask the right questions, Maria. So I spent a good part of the weekend with the White House working on exactly the answer to that question. We have lots of great ideas, but I don't want to show our cards. As the president often says, why would I telegraph to you what we're going to do? We have to have an open government. I need my top people around to be able to navigate the right solutions. We will support the American people. We always have. We want to do it in the right, responsible way. If we don't, it'll implode.
That exchange with Dr. Oz is the definition of bad faith. His response that he won't disclose the plan because why would I telegraph to you what we're going to do is exactly the kind of sneaky, dishonest tactic we know MAGA Republicans employ. There is no plan. Tim Kaine gave up the power of the entire Democratic Party for a verbal promise from people who operate in secret. It's a perfect example of centrists choosing to work with fascists instead of embracing their left flank and working through issues with them. The progressive said, hold the line. The progressive said, use the leverage. The progressive said, fight for the people. But centrists like Tim Kaine would rather lose a fight to the Republicans than hand a political victory to Bernie Sanders or any other progressive. They fear their own base more than they fear the authoritarian extremists on the other side of the aisle. It's a failure of moral courage, a failure of political will, a betrayal of every voter who sent him to Washington to fight for them. They sacrificed the public good to maintain their own position at the center.